volunteer number 85.
I'm still gonna get paid.
Volunteers receiving a dose of synthesized
Please don't put
substrate
that needle in me.
B282.
No, stop. Wait.
Okay, Ryan, thanks very much for speaking to. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm very good. I mean, I was a bit worried what you were going to do with one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, this one and Demons are like my two favorite trashy horror movies of all time. So I'm not going to lie, I was kind of quite worried, concerned about how not because I didn't trust you at all based on your previous film. I was just because it's something that just kind of reminds me of my childhood. And I just grew up with this film. I was kind of concerned about it. And I mean, at the same time, for you, you must have had the same kind of concerns. You must have kind of second guessing all the time how you would approach this to make sure that it's just right for newbies and just right for the guys who grew up on this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with you. That's 100% how I felt as a fan, also growing up with street trash and being a fan of street trash. When they approached me to do this film, I was like, cool, I've got to do something completely different. I can't, I don't want to touch the original. The original is it's that, it's that certain time in the 80s and everything. And it's like, it is what it is. You don't want to copy any of that. So, and that's why when I was writing the film, it was always like a loose sequel in the same world, just like later on. And for a new audience, it could be a standalone film. But for the fans of people like me and you, we would be like, oh, okay, get it. Yeah, this is actually a sequel. We mentioned the original in this film. So yeah, it's for the fans, it's, I wanted to play homage to the original and a few nods here and there. And if there's all those little Easter eggs that, people will pick up on,
Uh-huh. What was just to follow on from that question? What was kind of most important for you to kind of stick with from the original that you wanted to kind of keep as kind of the central theme or the central cheesiness, sense of humor, trashiness that was kind of important to maintain, but without overdoing it, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the original, I think, there's a few elements that, that is important. So one, obviously the prosthetics. The prosthetics is a huge part of the original, is the main part of the original. And the fluorescent goo. That's the fluorescent blood and goo. That's such a big part of the original. So you gotta have that for one. And then two is obviously the homeless. You're following these homeless guys around. So it's always cool to see these, fun, crazy type of characters. So, straight away, obviously, I wanted to base it around, a bunch of, homeless guys. And then obviously with the original, obviously it's that certain time in New York, which I wanted to shoot, obviously, moving to South Africa but mention the film. But yeah, and again, it's just doing something different, but I think the main elements was the prosthetics, following the homeless people, having that fluorescent gore. I think obviously that's the main elements here and there, and even some of the steady cam stuff. I mean, when you look at as a kid watching the original, I didn't know what the fuck a steady cam was when I was a kid watching it, but you knew there was something different there. And as you revisit the film older, you're like, fuck, this camera work is amazing.
It just really pulls you into you're almost like you're a homeless person with them. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's amazing. So that was also important to have those, moving shots and steady cam shots of, moving around with these characters. And for me, it was very important to have, obviously do the prosthetics, have a lot of in camera effects, have a fucking strong different story than the original. And obviously I'm very big on characters, and it's important. I think it doesn't happen enough in some of these genre type of movies that it's important that we love these characters and we go on the journey with these characters. So it should be every fucking movie that anybody makes. I think, just sometimes you watch some of the films and you're like, the gore was great, but the story was shit and the characters were shit. So it was obviously important for me to tick those boxes, that we have a strong cast and we have a strong story and we have all those things that people love from the original,
Yeah, which I think the original one kind of it did. There was quite a lot of dialogue heavy scenes and moments, and especially kind of comedy, like when he goes to the supermarket, he's got chicken down his pants and all these kind of things, and you kind of you kept that kind of tone, which was I think worked really, really well. So I want to hand over the room to Ashley now,
Yeah.
who hadn't seen the original one until just, was it about a week ago or so? So he
It
saw them
was,
both
yeah, it
back
was
to
a week
back
ago,
now. Yeah.
yeah. It's one of the
Oh, okay.
one of the few movies from that era that I hadn't seen. So Howard was really kind of surprised, and I'll be honest, I'm having probably not grown up with it because Howard and I are very very close in age, and not growing up with it, I didn't particularly like it. I love the effects, but the characters,
Yeah.
I really dug. They were really quite memorable, and you've got some really great memorable characters in your film. I mean, you've got the, apart from the leads, you've got like the brothers that seem to kind of work as this comedy act. And one of the other ones that I wanted to mention was one that you play, and that's Sokol. Now, at what point where you were writing it did you go, fuck, I've got to put this in. This is going to be nuts. Because when he pops up, it does give you that what the fuck moment, which I guess is what you were looking for, right?
Yeah, and even with this character, it's again, it's a very 80s sort of style, puppet prosthetic, puppet prosthetic, animatronic, whatever you want to call it. So when I thought of the idea, I just because I wanted to obviously bring Gary Green, Fry Barry into street trash, and Gary doesn't come from an acting back, a trained actor background, so I
Yeah.
work very closely with Gary. And then when I was thinking of this film and also again trying to make things different, I thought, oh my God, it'll be so fucking cool if he's got this imaginary friend. We'll have this puppet and only he can see him and nobody else. And I just thought that was so fucking funny and cool because, dude, you can walk around certain places in America or anywhere, and you've got a lot of people like talking to themselves. And I was like, well, what if there was this fucking, this character is like seeing this person and nobody else can see him, and I just thought it was like funny. And then the crazy thing was a bit of a spoiler, but later on when Ronald takes those drugs, he can see.
Yeah.
He can see the alien. So he's like, fuck, he's been there the whole time. And then for once, two bits like, oh my God, can you see him? So it was just fun. And then I've never really done voice work before. When we were doing it, because I work with Gary closely, it was that character was almost designed as a support boat for his character. So I could like bounce off with that a lot.
Uh-huh.
It's nice you mentioned Gary. Just following on from that, because I understand he's like really driven, and he wants to kind of absolutely nail the scene and just kind of keep going a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
I understand that, from what I've read, you will, there were times where you'd be like 10 takes in and you've got it every take, and he still wants to push more. And that's considering his age. And as you say, he's not come from an acting background. I mean, that's pretty impressive because he has a great monologue in this, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with the cool thing with Gary is, he'll always give 110%. He's always willing to do it. And like I said, even when I've got it, I'm like, I've got it, Gary. And he wants to do another one. I was like, dude, I've got it. Like, I've got it. And so he's like, I think some actors will end up getting fed up and going, I can't do it anymore. So he will never get to that point, hopefully. And it's just that I've got to work close with him, and it just takes time. It takes time. It's a 3-step process working with Gary. I do a lot of rehearsals beforehand, a month before shooting, and then closer, and then working with them on set, and then sometimes things change on set, so giving it a few rehearsals there, and then it's getting the beats down in the edits. So there's those comedy bits hit, with the edit. And like in Fry Barry, it was like reaction, do this, do this, do this, and then it's turn it around on the other side. And when the other actor's saying, right, okay, I've got this reaction, I've got that reaction, and it just plays all those comedy beats, and it's about the editing. But with this film, when it was Gary's dialogue, when it was two bits, big moment, you know, Gary knew it was like this is a big fucking dialogue for him, and shame he learned it constantly. And we went through it quite a few times, and I was like, cool, and I was like, just keep fucking learning it, and we give him notes. And then when it came to the day, shame I could see that he was a bit nervous. But as soon as we rolled that camera, Gary, that's amazing. That's so good. Like I was so proud of him. And then we did the second take, and he nailed that as well. So yeah, shame he put a lot of time and effort, and he really, I love his character, and I think working with Gary, I always pick the right characters that I know I can work with them to be able to pull it off, to bring it out and to show people to, I can bring the best out of them. So yeah, that was awesome,
Oh, he's awesome, man. I mean, so you mentioned the reaction. With Fried Barry, we got a reaction from none other than Carol Baskin on the trailer.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, will we get to see one of her reviewing the Street Trash trailer?
I don't, you know what? I love marketing. I did a lot. I'm sure you guys have seen. I did a hell of a lot of marketing for Fried Barry. I love the marketing side of films that people don't do enough of. And some films you can't, and then you can only do so much. And then there's certain films like Fried Barry or Street Trash where it's very open to like a lot of stuff. So I have done a lot of marketing. That's bringing these little videos out soon now that I've done for Street Trash. But it's always like, there's always so much that you can do, and like Carol Baskin. And when I started, when I randomly emailed Carol Baskin and she replied, and I was like, okay. And at the time she did the whatever the fuck it was called, that
Tiger
what was
King.
it called?
Tiger King.
Yeah. So when she did that, I was like, she was quite relevant and stuff like that. So I thought it was quite awesome speaking to her. But then you also think like, okay, she got accused of like murdering the dude or some shit like that, and then I'm like, am I speaking to a fucking killer here, or is this? And the crazy thing was, when I'm chatting to her, before and after, she's like, I'm like, start talking about my cat, and she's telling me about her cats, and it was just like, just random, like two of us, just like, oh yeah, I've got a cat, his name's Kitty, and it was just like so fucking random.
So I think you need to get. We probably need to get Mike Tyson or someone like that to do a reaction video to it now.
Yeah.
Listen, Ryan, they're calling us a wrap now, so we're going to leave you there. But congratulations on the movie; it's really, really great, man. It lived up to my. I was hoping that it was going to be as good, and I had loads of fun with it. And I can't wait to speak to you again with another project.
Cool, man. Thanks so much. You know what? It was very special to me when I went to the New Beverly Cinema and we had the premiere in LA. There was a lot of Fried Barry fans there, which was awesome, and there was a lot of the original fans for the original film. And there were so many people that said the same. They were worried and this, and then once they watched it, they were like, some of them were like, I like this better than the original. I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But I also am that person like you that, there's a special place for me, for the original Trash. But to even have those people that loved the original and said, if you love the original, you will actually love this. Trust me, it's going to be what you thought it was going to be. It's not going to be bad. It's not going to be this. There's plenty of nods and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's awesome. So I really, I
think it. Sorry, I was going to say it works so well. I think because it's not just like a rehash, a retread. It's something different. But it's still, like you said, it lives in that universe, but it's just something completely different and just as much fun as the first one. So it's congratulations on it. Yeah, it's great.
Cool, guys. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, nice to speak to you. Speak to you again sometime soon then.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right,
take care.
Guys.
Yes, bye now.